Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Crown Jewel VR, the Crown Jewel Sportsman Truck Series presented by BH Designs. But we did miss qualifying and practice, so we're just gonna go straight into your starting lineup presented by HVTV. Joseph Stafford, Lucas Edwards gonna round out row one, with Michael Deitch, Garth Griswold, one of your league admins, gonna round out row two. Row three, Josh Stolz, and at number 99 with Cameron Albertson, starting in sixth. John Connor and Jim Mock gonna round out row four. With Jonathan Ledger, uh, known painter in the series and stuff, gonna start P9 with Joe Gibbons, gonna round out your top 10. Ryan Taft P11 with Austin Runkle rounding out row six. Row seven, Corey Mott with Mike Runkle. Row 8, Richard Myers with Alan Phillips rounding out that row. Starting 18th is going to be Jay Salmon with Bob Baker and rounding out that row 9. And that will be your lineup for tonight's race. Joining me in the booth tonight will be co-commentator Jeff Prochaski. Jeff, how's it going, man? I definitely agree that it's gonna be interesting, with how different these trucks drive here versus regular Daytona. It's gonna be very interesting. You see, last week's truck winner and Joseph Stafford, he's on the pole. So I mean, already coming out with from momentum from Iowa last week. Already going to start out here with good momentum, starting from the pole. But you're going to see the pace car pull that hard left down pit road, and we're going to go green flag racing here from Daytona. Coming out of turn four, Joseph Stafford's going to lead your first laps here, but with a little run from the top. It's side by side going into one and two. Jeff, you see that top, and with how bumpy that bottom is, do you think the top's maybe a more preferred lane you want to be in right now?
I definitely think that it's going to be really important for whoever wants to lead this race to control both lanes, right? I think that on the bottom, you're really vulnerable to getting pinched from that top lane, and there's not a whole lot of room. It's really hard to hold a line on the bottom with those bumps all over the place. You need to stay like kind of a half lane up off that yellow line. So it's really tough for those guys to actually hold it on the bottom and keep speed. So it's going to be really, really important for right now, early in this race, as everybody's settling in 2x2. Find a lane, find a partner that can push you and get you to where you need to be, but also find a lane and a spot on the track that's comfortable for you. And I think that if you want to stay up front, you're going to be able to have to jump from top to bottom, as you're seeing the 07 now with Michael Deitch leading the top there with the 57 on his inside. I think that's going to be the key to this one.
Yeah, you saw Deitch actually get super upset on the bottom. I don't know if it was from a bump from behind or if it was just from that truck getting upset. So really, Jeff, you speaking into existence right there. Yeah, how easy it is to, maybe lose control of the car, just lose the handling a little bit. And when that happens, it just causes a huge checkup. And usually that's how the big ones happen here at this, what we call Lumpy Tona. Coming in here, still side by side, the 57 and the 07 now leading your field. Two Chevys. And right now you see two Chevys pushed by two Toyotas, so love to see a great mix of manufacturers. You see the 07 now drop down to the bottom, leaving out the 87 from the top.
Yeah, as I was talking about, we spoke it into existence again. Controlling both lanes is going to be so important here. You can also see the first 2, 3, 4 cars on the bottom, for trucks on the bottom. It's really hard for them to stay connected through those bumps on the bottom. It's not that the bumps are any worse than on the top, but because of where the cars are on the outside and how much they're either pinching down or changing their line, very hard to hold a line at this track as well. It's going to be extra important to get lined up if you want to get that best push off a corner or wherever you are on the track. That's going to be super important here. As you see more and more trucks starting to shade to the bottom, we got a 4-car group at the line now. Outside coming back with a run.
The outside still trying to form up a little bit more compact. You see the 57 now jump up to take that line, and now you're going to see that inside try to get back up to leader, but with the the pusher at the bottom coming up to take the lead at the top, it does kind of compact that bottom. But now you see the 57 out. Oh, Michael Deitch, really sketchy push. Are they going to let him back in? I think they will. And Michael Deitch is someone who doesn't run up towards the front a lot, so maybe a lot of these guys maybe not very familiar with how Michael Deitch maybe wants to be pushed. And you see already the inside did get that little bit of a stack up, which allows those top two from the top to drop down to the bottom. Now Deitch third in line, scratch that, coming to the top now. He's going to lead the top.
I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of this shuffling throughout this entire race here at Daytona. As these trucks are trying to make up ground, there's going to be guys that are going from the bottom to the top and vice versa. And guys are going to fill those gaps in between, right? They're going to go from 10th to 8th to more people jump to the top. They're going to go to 6th, and they're going to move up forward and forward. So you're just going to fill in gaps as they go. And if they want to run up front and try to lead part of this race and control both lanes, control this race, they can do that. If they want to hang back and save their stuff and hope to avoid a wreck, they can do that as well. A lot of different strategies going on right here so far. You're already seeing shape up. As of right now, it's just the top two as we see one truck jumping up to the top, and we got side by side for the lead at the line. Lucas Edwards leads.
You see Lucas Edwards in the 87 go up and once again lead the top. And something, I didn't even think about, Jeff, is with this bumpier, more abrasive track, right? With the regular Daytona, you don't really worry about tire wear at all, and you don't really worry about handling at all, because it's just kind of sit in line or push the hardest you can if you're that pusher, that second in line, or maybe even third in line, depending on the car. But with here, you actually do want to think about maybe saving your equipment and saving tires, because handling will become an issue if we do get a longer green flag run. And I feel like running that bottom might save your equipment a little bit better than running up in the top, just because it's the longer way around. As you start to see the bottom start to once again get a little bit of advantage over the top.
Yeah, that's a great point, Christian. And I think that there's a double-edged sword, right? If you run on the bottom, it feels like those bumps affect the car a lot more and get the car a lot more upset, get these trucks light as they go over the bumps. It makes it harder to push, harder to stay connected if you need to get a run on somebody on the outside. However, on the outside, you're totally right. It's a further way around. That's going to put a lot more wear on the right front of these trucks. It's going to make you have to lift on the exit possibly. And very similar to my experience driving the Gen 4 here, you start to get a lot of wear on that right front, really tight off the corners here late in the run. So it's going to be really important to save your stuff.
Just riding on board with, right now it's with Lucas Edwards. You can just really see how bumpy and abrasive this track is. If you look at the bottom, you can physically see the truck bouncing up and down, and it's just super hard and it's super tough on these trucks, right? Obviously we have the setup for this, but these trucks aren't really made to run on this abrasive surface. They're made to run on the smoother, new surface. Obviously this is a legacy track that's available on the surface, and it's a really cool idea to get these trucks out here on this different type of super speed racing, because you don't really see this anymore in current NASCAR, where handling is a thing and everything else. The closest you're going to get to is maybe like in Atlanta, and even then it's not from the abrasiveness of the track. It's just because it's a shorter, it's a mile and a half, not 2.5 miles. The turns are tighter and the tires just wear a little bit more.
Yeah, and I'm all for it, honestly. I think that this provides such a more unique challenge compared to a traditional super speedway. Obviously, there's a completely different driving style for super speedways versus other NASCAR tracks. But I think that this is a challenge that there's no other track that you see racing like this. I mean, you have to really be confident in who you're around. As we see three wide in the middle, in the second row, third row, big run on the outside. That 99 truck getting split through the middle there. That just provides such a unique challenge compared to any other track that these drivers will see.
And there they go. 34 gets hooked by the 99. That's going to take out about 4 or 5 trucks, and caution's going to wave.
And I was just going to get to that point. It provides a whole nother angle of opportunities for calamity because you don't have to, normal super speedways, you don't really have to worry so much about the handling aspect, but here you'd have handling issues, get out of line, and it'll cause calamity in a blink of an eye. We saw there.
Yeah, I mean, this is just caused by this 99 just gets spit out from, I believe it was that top lane, and, you know, we talked about handling being an issue. You see the 34 trying to give as much space as he can, but almost gets up into the wall on the 99. I mean, it's hard to run 3 wide here, frankly. It's just super tough because of how bad these trucks drive with the bumps and stuff, and unfortunately just still looks like the 34 comes down a little bit, the 99 comes up, and there's nowhere to go primarily for that top lane. The bottom line does a really good job getting down and out of the way. See the 93 actually kind of drifted around there. That's Richard Myers, but good for him to get around it and get away from this wreck. But still, at the end of the day, this pretty big wreck back here. Jonathan Ledger, I think maybe with some minimal damage. Yeah, maybe a little dimple on the front end, but definitely could have been worse for that driver.
Yeah, and I think that early on in this race, the driver's going to see something like that, and they're going to rethink what their strategy is. Hey, maybe I don't want to be so close to the front where these wrecks might happen later in the race. Maybe I want to stay on that bottom lane so I can save my stuff and drive down to the apron in case there's a wreck. It'll put some thoughts in these drivers' minds as we head down pit road, the first set of pit stops.
Yeah, pit lane wide open, 11 of 80 complete. I mean, you probably think that these guys are probably just going to come down and top off on fuel. Now, we talked about, it was the 87, not the best pit entry that he wanted, but I don't think you'll see you see the 57 coming down and taking tires, but I imagine you'll see a lot of drivers coming down just topping off on fuel and getting back out there. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still super speedway. I don't think tires are going to matter that much to where you're going to be coming down after 12 laps to take a set, but a lot of drivers coming down pit road, topping off on fuel, and they're be on their way once again.
I think my response to that would be maybe 12 laps is a little bit aggressive to be changing tires in a race at Daytona. But on the other hand, you don't want to be caught out at the end of a very long run where you're going to have to make a green flag pit stop and you're having to lift, stuck in that top lane, lift on every exit of every corner. I think it's better to be safe than sorry here, especially with how few drivers are in this field compared to a full field of cars that we sometimes see. I think there's a long way to go in this race, and if they're confident in their truck, confident in the handling that they get back up there, then I think it's a totally valid call.
Well, I definitely agree that it's probably a good call, but we also have some drivers who like to stay out. We're looking at one of them right here, Mike Runkle, Bob Baker, and Ryan Taft, one of your veterans of this series and of the league. Very well known for just being someone who you can always talk to about advice about the league or just as a line. My first, when I used to race here back when it was the show, my first league owner came out. He reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to run in this series with his team, and we did. We came out there, we ran pretty competitively, but yeah, Ryan, one of the long-standing veterans here in the league, and very respected. Doesn't tend to run up probably towards the front like he'd probably want to, but at the end of the day, very respected in the league and just a good person overall.
The bonds definitely run deep in the iRacing community between leagues, between drivers, between team owners. Everybody can give countless examples of those. You see, looks like we're going to go 1 to green this time.
It lets her off on the pace track, which means we will be going 1 to green. And you see the 87, the 86 that we just talked about. Ryan Taft going to lead us to green with the 11 of Bob Baker on his outside. Toyota front row. I think that's the first time we've seen a Toyota front row in this race. Obviously, only 13 complete, so probably can see some more of that. But have a Toyota lockout on the front row, and then Toyota Chevy on the completing your fast four. So 13 complete here. I mean, we already saw some guys who looked like could be, already some favorites to come up here and potentially win. Obviously, it's Daytona, and anything can happen. But you saw the '07 of Michael Deitch up there doing a pretty good job leading the field. You saw the '57 of Joseph Stafford, your last week's winner. He went up there and led some laps. So, I mean, you take a look at some of these guys who were up there and stayed up there, right? It's so easy to get spit out here at these super speedways. And, a big thing I think you have to look at is trust, right? Who do you trust that you can push? Or who do you trust who can push you out to the lead, right? And a lot of the guys that maybe aren't the most trustworthy are going to get shuffled out, especially when you come towards the latter part of the race.
Yeah, you can have the best handling truck and all the racecraft in the world, but if you don't have friends at the end of this race, you're going to get beat by somebody that does.
You see that countless times, right? Friends count, especially towards the end, and sometimes you just have to make friends throughout the race. But speaking of friends, we're going to get ready to go green, and the 86 going to lead us to green. The 44 really off the back end of there. Not the best jump by the top either. You might see this 86 try to jump up and lead the top as no. And you see that 11 with a huge run off the top because really the inside not connected at all.
Yeah, the 86 truck had no friends in that restart at all. You can see the top two and trucks 3 and 4 as well on the top coming. Get that big run off of 2 that you always see on the restarts. They're going to be clear.
I mean, this whole top lane that got connected is going to potentially be clear. Looks like maybe that 87 is going to be left out, and here comes everybody else. Now they're going to leave out the 11 out to dry, and 11's going to start to fade back. Bob going to get some help from the 87 of Lucas Edwards, but that's just a 2-car tandem up there. No other help from the top lane.
It's not often that you see an entire top lane clear the entire rest of the field and come down and take the first 5, 6, 7 spots. But they did it to perfection that time. 97, 8, 57, your leaders.
Hey, Joe Gibbons up to P2, up 8 spots from where he started. Another good run for him. Joe, one of the more consistent drivers throughout the series, even in the VRS Truck Series. And you're already starting to see him show. We didn't really get a lot of super speedway racing, so a lot of these guys starting to show off their chops a little bit. You're starting to see even the 97 John Connors still with his VRS banner on the truck. So obviously you see a lot of dedication to the league and a lot of drivers coming up to step up to partake in this series, right? Kind of a impromptu series that got made by the league admins to give these guys something to race while they figure out their plans for the future of this series. Obviously, we were broadcasting the VRS Truck Series, and some miscommunication and some maybe some changes throughout the league made it difficult for some people to continue to want to run in that series. So now we're here running and broadcasting the Sportsman Truck Series presented by BH Designs, and you still see a pretty decent group of guys. I mean, 18 cars isn't a slouch field.
And what I'm noticing so far after these restarts is that the bottom lane seems to be more stable and more constant, and the top is very boom or bust, right? You'll have 3 trucks on the top that'll get hooked up, they'll get a big run, maybe the leader will drop to the bottom lane and block that, maybe they won't, and then they kind of fizzle out, and then it takes a lap or another couple laps to get it back going again. And you could see that now with the 57 after jumping to the top, trying to pull that 11 and that 87 with him to try and get clear of the leaders on the bottom. And it's not quite working out the way that they want it to right now. It's to get a little bit too separated, and the bottom is a lot more organized at the moment.
And that's something I've noticed as well, is like when you get organized, you really start to go. And even if it takes one truck to kill a lane, it looks like, and if you have maybe the 3rd car in line that isn't willing to push, that line is going to continue to fall back. You see the 08 and the 57, hooked up, but without, that 3rd car.
The 11 truck's going to get hooked in the back. He got in the wall in 4. That's going to be a caution.
And we're talking about it. That top line just not really put together well, and you saw it right there. 11 up into the wall. Truck not handling the way he wants. Looks like a little bit of front end damage actually on that Tundra. And unfortunately, and then the 87 tries to take you through it. And this is exactly what we saw last time. Just three wide just does not really work that well here at Legacy Daytona. And they got together. Looks like no damage to the 87, but ton of damage to that number 11 machine.
Yeah, you said it once again. Another truck gets tight on those bumps, getting split three wide, and they just can't keep it off the wall. And then once you try and get off the wall, you'll pull the truck all the way down the track into the guy on your inside. There's nowhere to go for those guys back there. Luckily, no damage for the rest of the field, but a beat up truck for Bob Baker as he brings it down pit road.
Hey, look at Bob with this damage. I mean, luckily, I guess he kind of when he got spun out, it kind of shifted up the track, right? Instead of usually when you get spun, especially on the top, you kind of spin down the track. Luckily for the rest of the field, he kind of spun back up, maybe trying to correct the truck, but lots of damage to this number 11 machine, and obviously a lot of time to get this damage fixed from what we've seen. And we're on pace to get a caution about every 9 or 10 laps, so hopefully that's not the case, but for the rest of the race, but I imagine that we will get another caution throughout the race with what we've seen so far with how bad the trucks have handled and everything else. So we'll see how much he can fix this car, but we're already seeing now cars are back down pit lane once again.
Yeah, and I suppose even with how many wrecks there are at the super speedways, at least the pace laps are long enough that you can avoid going multiple laps down by fixing damage from an incident. So we'll see where Bob Baker ends up, but the rest of these guys are coming down pit road, taking service. See some fuel only, some tires. See where everybody shakes out after this one.
And John Connor keeps the race lead after coming down pit road. No, stays out on track actually. So we did run 7 laps.
4 trucks that stayed out.
Yep. We ran 7 laps, and that's just not enough for some of these guys to, give up this track position. So John Connor, Joe Gibbons, Cameron Albertson, and Lucas Edwards, your top 4, who did not stay out. The first car who did come down pit road that we saw, he won your race off pit road, and that is that number 57 of Joseph Stafford. Last week's winner at Iowa, and yeah, just really showing that he can compete here in the Sportsman Truck Series, and starting to already show. Even though, he's the first car that came out that probably it looks like topped off on fuel. A 5.6 second stop, so definitely didn't take any tires. But even with coming down pit road, I mean, coming out P5 definitely not an issue there.
Yeah, great stop for him. And I think that's interesting that there's two schools of thought here. There's the drivers that say, hey, I'm perfectly fine. My truck's handling well. Really good running up front. I want to keep this track position. I don't want to have to force my way through the field later on in the race. So they'll stay out after a caution after the 7-lap run that we had. And then there's other drivers that say, hey, well, eventually, if we're going to keep having these cautions, I want to keep topping off on fuel to make it to that final fuel window. And then we'll see what happens. And then I won't have to be coming down pit road late in the race when I may be in a better position to win the race and have to lose all those spots later on. So two kind of competing schools of thought here, and we'll see which one ends up winning out. And it all depends on where the cautions fall and how many we get.
I definitely agree. It is going to decide on, when the cautions fall, right? I mean, it can come down to it to where that 7 laps is going to be whether you make it on fuel or not. And obviously,
exactly,
that's going to be a huge decision maker towards the end of the race. And, it's going to just depend on when cautions fall. If we go green, if we don't go green, and if we do go green, when do you decide to come down and pit? If you do, if we do go green, do these leaders who have less fuel, do they go to the back to try to save fuel? It's just going to be about all those little nitpicky things of what do you do in these situations.
That's the other side of super speedway racing that people don't see. They see the wrecks, they see the green white checkered finishes, they see the crazy 3-wide passes and pushing, but there's a big strategy element to these races as well, especially in these trucks where, at this kind of track where it's not a traditional super speedway track and handling is so important. When do you want to pit? How many people do you want to be pitting with? and then how much fuel you're going to take for that final pit stop. Everything matters. All the little details will matter in this one. Or if we get enough cautions, it might just throw all that out the window. Who sees? Who knows? We'll see.
It'll just depend on what happens here. Obviously, we'd like to see it go green and get some green flag pit stops, but with how unpredictable these trucks handle here, we don't always get what we want here up in the booth. So, but we do see the pace car or the pace truck going to take that hard left back on the pit road. And now once again, the Chevy front row, 97 on the inside, 8 on the outside, going into the restart zone. And we're green once again.
See, this time the leader of the bottom got a great jump, and he has help pushing him to get him clear of the outside. And he's going to jump up and take that spot on the outside just barely into one.
I see the 97 being pretty aggressive with that block on the top, and it's actually going to get that bottom lane clear if they would ever want to jump up, but I think right now they're fine. Wrecking in the back once again. I don't know if it's caution's out. I was about to say, I didn't know if that was going to be a caution. Looks like everybody, for the most part, saved it. But caution will wave. I think that all started with that number 38 of Jim Mott. But we'll definitely take a look right here on the high velocity TV replay. Take a little bit slow cam and we'll see what happened. See that 38 Coors Banquet machine. And the 15. Oh man, it looks like a little bit of netcode, but just gets up and hooks the 38 and nowhere to go for that 00 on the inside. You see Garth, I don't think hits that wall. We'll see if he gets it. Wow, what a job to keep it off that inside wall and keep that car
drift in
going.
that truck.
Yeah, that's very impressive, and we'll give a hats off to Garth. He gets that one. That's what they call the move of the race. So right now that's amazing driving by that driver to keep that truck going. So that's unbelievable, as they say sometimes. But that's gonna hand the lead over to Cameron Albertson. And I was gonna bring it up right before they wrecked, but guess who's up here already in the top 3 after coming down pitting and losing a bunch of spots? That's Michael Deitch in this 07. So we talked about it. Joseph Stafford already back up here in the P2 spot, and look at Michael Deitch already working his way back up here into the podium ring.
Yeah, and you can see how quickly the tables get flipped upside down with that 07 truck that was in the back just a number of laps ago, already back in those podium spots. And I have to wonder, Christian, at what point are these drivers going to learn that you can't stay that close to trucks in the corners and off the corners? 3 wide is hard enough in a normal super speedway to have everybody hold their lines while pushing and being around other trucks. But with the added element of the bumps and how unstable it makes the trucks and wanting to either get light on the bumps or push up into the car on your outside, I don't know how long it's going to be before they figure out that you can't do that, or else we're just going to keep having cautions every couple laps.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, we ran 23 laps. We're, getting close to the quarter of the way done with this race, and we actually have passed it, right? And you have to think that sooner or later they're going to figure it out. You see Bob Baker getting his lap back. He'll be back on the lead lap, so exactly what maybe he wanted to see, getting the lead, getting that lucky dog, and getting his way back on the lead lap to maybe come back and race for a win, right? Obviously a long race, but good for Bob to, looks like that truck's pretty clean and green also, so give him some opportunities to come down and get that damage fixed, and now looks like he'll be in the 15th spot once we go green here. Obviously lights are still on the pace car, but Bob's still coming back around here in the 15th position.
Jim Mott comes out of the pit lane, appears to have a clean truck, all his damage fixed at the moment as well. Seems to be that even if drivers get involved in these wrecks, they are still very much in this race, especially given how much race is left. I mean, past the quarter way done, Mark.
Yeah, currently the only drivers laps down are the 4 of Austin Runkle. We saw him get caught up in that early caution. And then Alan Phillips and Josh Stolz have not on the track, so maybe have called it a night after getting caught up in something. But the number 76 is 11 laps down, and Josh Stolz in that number 99, 13 laps down respectively. So not on the track, so maybe have called it a night. You know, a lot of people still, saw Jonathan Ledger involved in a wreck. I think it was that first wreck, and look at him already up inside the top 10. Looks like he's going to be starting actually P10 right there in that number 28 machine. See him start to blink out a little bit. Once again, you see everybody side by side and the lights off on the pace truck, which means we will be going green this time by to start lap 25. And I'm not sure how much fuel that these guys have, but you start to think maybe if they can try to get to maybe lap 40 and try to just split this race in half almost, or maybe in the quarters, and try to strategize out this fuel strategy if we can go green that long.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the latter of that argument. I'm not sure if we're going to go green that long where fuel won't matter anyway, at least at the rate that we're going now. But at least the bright side of that is with how tough this track is to handle, it'll give more incentive for drivers to take it easier, drop back possibly in the field, draft behind others, and save a little bit of fuel if they do have to make it a little bit longer. But we'll see how that all shakes out.
Well, once again, lights are off on the pace truck. 08 and 57. 08 kind of new to the front here. Up 5 spots from where he started in 6th, but he's going to lead us to green. Toyota, Chevy front row, Chevy lockout for that second row. As we're going to be green once again.
I think that was the most even restart that we've seen so far. Even 2 by 2, the first 2 rows on the inside and the outside.
Yeah, I agree. I think those two, guys in the second spots in there are 2 of your better super speedway racers. So I think that's the reason why they're so equal right now, is because, those are your 2 better guys. They know how to push. They know what they need to do on these restarts to get those lines going. Did 07. Wow. Really pushing that 08 into the corner. I'm surprised that they could do that and get away with it. But you're going to see them with a huge run coming out of 3 and 4. Those 2 might be clear of the top. Did you see the 8 trying to get to the rear end of that 07? Yeah, those 2 are clear of the top. I think they'll probably stay down. And you see the 07 once again coming up to block that top lane.
Yeah, and I saw Stafford and Connor leading the top, trying to tandem just to keep up with that bottom lane that was pushing so well. Kind of lost a little bit of momentum with Michael Deitch coming up to block them, but they're going to have a big run down this back straightaway. We'll see what the inside does in response to that. Trying to hook up, getting first two or three trucks hooked up. I don't know if it's going to beat the top, though.
Now you have 3 the kind of proven super speedway guys who have driven their way up through the field leading the top, versus some of the guys who've just kind of been there and kind of taking advantage of the track position down there on the bottom with the 08, the 8, and the 15. The 15 was also a part of one of those wrecks not that long ago. So you see him 3rd in line on the bottom, trying to make everything he can out of what's given to him. And we talked about
where the longer that you see these drivers go 2 by 2, the longer that the realization of gridlock sets in. If you're in the 4th, 5th, 6th row here, you kind of have to either commit to being aggressive, making a 3-wide move somewhere to pick up a spot or 2, or try and pick up a run where you can see it, or you just ride in line, save fuel, hopefully save your truck from a wreck. There's going to be different things that these guys can do right here. We're coming off of 4. We're still dead even in the first 4 rows almost, inside and outside.
And we talked about this a little bit earlier in the race, in the broadcast, that sometimes it doesn't take numbers to be better, right? I mean, you see probably double the trucks down there on the bottom, but the top's just more put together. You see them really on top of each other and giving each other momentum, and that's why they're leading, right? Right now, they're gonna get a huge run off of the out of two. Gonna get that '07 back clear, maybe even that '57 clear, and it just depends on how well you can push back there and how well that whole line's put together. Like we talked about before, one truck can kind of drag back a line. As you can see, the oh wait, ooh, almost contact between him and that '07 machine.
I was just about to bring that up, Christian. How close do you want to be to those cars on your inside if you're Michael Deitch and the outside lane? Because on one hand, you want to make sure that you're leaving them as little room as possible so you can get the best run possible off the corner, off of turn 2 or turn 4. But at the same time, you see the '08 truck coming up about a half lane, even a lane off the bottom, just pushing up tight because of those bumps off of 4. So how aggressive do you want to be there, I guess, is what I'm saying. Is if you want to clear down bottom, maybe you want to be extra aggressive on a corner or two just to make sure you get that extra speed boost off. But at the same time, you don't want to end up in the wall.
That's just the different dynamic that comes with this Legacy Daytona, because everywhere else you don't have to worry about that, right? Having to give room because of the bottom being so hard to drive and so bad handling, right? If you go to Talladega or even Atlanta or Daytona, right, the new Daytona, you can pinch them down all the way down to that yellow line and not have an issue. But here, you see a lot of guys giving a lot more room to, not cause a wreck, right? And it's something you're going to continue to see. Maybe once we get down to the final laps, you're going to see a lot more take than give. But right now, you see a lot of giving right now. But you saw the 57 drop down, and he's going to lead the bottom. Now you see the 08 to Albertson, going to push him out. Give that lap to the '07, though. That top still looking pretty good, despite one of their, leaders dropping down to trying to take this bottom. Looking at some of your biggest movers, you see all the way back there in 11th still. I mean, even though it's, whoa, you see a car squirrely in the back. And 11 once again goes around. Not Bob Baker's day, you can say. And that was nothing of his doing that time. Go back and take a look at this. Looks like the guy in front of him, that black machine. We're trying to get a pinpoint on who that is. I think that's Mike or Uncle. Take a look and see what happened to him. So take a look at our far chase cam. Yeah, that's very strange. It just looks like, he went to dart out to maybe go to that top and just completely lost the front end on that truck. You see it come out and it kind of just darts and starts darting back and forth, and fortunately that 11's there when he tries to correct it, and huge hit to the 11 car, to that 11 machine again. He just got all that damage fixed just to get some more. So unfortunate for Bob, and caution will be out once again here at Daytona.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me at all, honestly, as having driven these trucks before and knowing the nuances of how they handle, especially at super speedways. They don't like to turn right. Their suspension geometry, the springs, the steering offset, everything is geared towards turning left with high banks and surviving those bumps. And if you try to eke out just a little bit, make just a little bit too much of a move on that wheel to the right, it can definitely get the truck upset and even cause you to lose the car, like we just saw. So unfortunate that Bob Baker got caught up in another incident. Luckily, looks like he can keep it going, but we'll see how all these drivers shake out as they exit pit road. And the 97 truck, once again, taking the lead back after a fuel-only stop.
And the 97, I mean, doing what he needs to once again. Ryan Taft is going to stay out once again. 11 laps, 14 laps on since he's come down pit road. So we saw him do this last time, staying out while everybody else pitted, trying to get that track position again. Well, while we have the time, I guess we'll go through your track packs presented by Delta Eagle Designs, Daytona. Obviously here in Daytona Beach, 2.5 miles or 4.02 kilometers with banking. I mean, this is what these super speedways are known for, is this high banking in the corners. 31 to be exact here in the corners here at Daytona. And once again, shout out to Delta Eagle Designs. You can find them over on Twitter or X over at Delta Eagle Racing /designs. So go check him out if you have any, graphic design work or even some paint scheme work. He does a very good job with either or. You see lights still on the pace car. And, we talked about the handling and stuff. And, with it being, with the sun out and beating on it, right? We can actually take a look at your race weather here. 81 degrees, so really not that, I would say, hot for a super speedway, especially with the handling. You see the 86 now coming down pit road. Maybe just trying to get that lap lead bonus. That's going to give the lead back to John Connor. But the big thing that's sticking out to me is this wind, 15 miles an hour. I mean, it might not seem that a lot, but when you're going, 180, 190, 200 miles an hour, that can start to probably affect the way these trucks are driving, especially with, the handling already being an issue.
And the direction of that wind when you're traveling that fast, and when the wind is significant, a double-digit wind speed in miles per hour is not insignificant for these trucks with how fast they're going. So a southerly wind at Daytona Speedway, you're getting a tailwind into turn one. So that's going to provide a completely different dynamic of, your truck is getting an extra speed boost. Really, the whole field is getting an extra speed boost going into one. So that's going to make the bumps feel harder. The pushes feel more unstable. The truck's going to be more unstable as it unloads, going over the crest and going down into the banking, turns 1 and 2. So that just provides another element of challenge. Again, that's why I love this kind of racing, is because when you add all these variables in, the rough track surface, the track temperature, the wind, everything that you're seeing here, and the nuances of how these trucks drive and how they can be unstable, turning right, for example, with a quick movement, provides a lot of things to consider when you're a driver, and provides a lot of opportunity for trying different things and being successful where others aren't. And having a competitive edge that way.
Well, that's the cool thing about, in my opinion, being a broadcaster is getting to show everybody at home and people that maybe might not know, right, of these little nuances that you don't even think about sometimes. And that's really our job, is to teach you guys, the ins and out of the sport and what to do. And, that's my favorite thing to do here. And it's the reason why I enjoy doing this. But we're going to go green once again. Chevy front row. Actually, Chevy lockout for that front four.
They're neck and neck again for the first 2 rows. So like the 07 and 57 on the outside are tandeming together just a little bit better into one. Michael Deitch is clear of the bottom. He won't take it just yet.
Yeah, Michael's going to continue to use that top to get the run off the corner. We know, if you're going to clear on entry, you're definitely going to clear on exit. And he's going to continue to stick to that top for now. So, here comes the 57 and the 07 to come down and take advantage and clear and take and lead this bottom. Now you have what I guess when you would want to say the big 3 leading the bottom lane.
And you could see before he made that move, Deitch was shading down to the bottom, like saying, hey, do we want to go down? Are you clear? Are you clear to the 57? Because he wanted to stay with him. As he just ditches him now to go bleed the top again. So you find friends where you find them, and you leave friends where you leave them.
And it's super interesting with that dynamic, right? You know, a lot of people just think, oh, they're just running, right? They're running to run. That's the thing is you kind of have to find these connections as you go, right? You never know. Maybe Dyson and Connor, had a plan right already before the race of like, hey, if we get together, we'll work together. Versus, someone like the 08 and the 57 right here, who just found each other and are working pretty well right now. Is they're gonna actually make a run for this race lead going to the line. Pitching a
Oh,
lap
it's going to
car.
be clear of the top, and the lap car is going to stay in the middle of the track. They're going to split it 3 wide. This is going to be tight.
I'm gonna drop down on the bottom. That's gonna stack up that bottom lane once again. And now look at this top. No, nowhere to be found. Now you see some guys start to get back up, but it looks like a lot of people staggered. Now you kind of see now a little like 3-2 car packs almost at the front here.
That 11 truck's holding bottom, brought that bottom lane to a halt quickly. Now we see the 87. He's going to get turned up into the air off of 4. Caution is
What
out.
a savage wreck. And yeah, that was a big one.
That was nearly a lot worse than it actually was. The 87 could have gone all the way up and over into the air. Looks like he just did a kick flip like off a skateboard. We'll see what exactly happened here. Looks like he just got hooked again off of the 15's bumper. Just making too aggressive of a move down to the bottom too quickly, and they both went for the same real estate there.
Yeah, it just looks like two guys on the bottom, on the top, trying to get to the bottom, and fortunately, only one car can fit down there. And we'll take a look through our blimp cam. You see the 15 go down, and you see the 80. Someone's like, oh, I want to go down there too. Fortunately, the 15's already there, and you're going to see that car catch some air a little bit, that truck, and oh, the 11 once again, a huge hit to the inside wall.
Yeah, and that might spell doom for him. 3 incidents now, and that being the worst of them all. That might be some terminal wheel damage for Bob Baker. Nothing but tough breaks for him this race.
Yeah, nowhere to go for a lot of these incidents, and I mean that's just the way some things go, right? Sometimes you can get lucky in every wreck and drive around, and sometimes you have a race like Bob's where you cannot catch a break, and it doesn't matter what you do, you're somehow in the wreck. You can check up early, you can do everything, right? You can be right on the bottom to try to give yourself as much room, and you're still going to, get caught up, and that's unfortunately the way Bob's race have gone, and he'll just have to move on, take these losses and continue to keep marching forward. Obviously, this is only the race 2 in this 8-race stretch, so a lot of racing to go here through this series.
It's got to be frustrating for a driver. I know I've been in this situation before as well, because on the one hand, you say, hey, well, if I'm going to get wrecked and get last in any race, at least it's a super speedway where everybody is racing super aggressively anyway. It's a completely different style of racing. Not always the most indicative of which the finishing positions of which are the actual best drivers in the series on super speedways versus at other tracks that will be the majority of the season. However, when you're looking at the point standings at the end of the season and you're racing for a championship or it's in a top 10 finish in points or to place ahead of somebody else in the points, you're going to be left thinking, man, if I would have just avoided one of those wrecks in that super speedway race, it could have helped me a lot in the final standings. So it is frustrating as a driver either way. Even if you can justify it being a super speedway, you always want to do well no matter what track you're at.
I definitely agree. You don't want to really wreck anywhere, and especially at these super speedways, it is frustrating because a lot of the times when you get caught up in one of these wrecks, it's out of your doing, right? A lot of the time you just get caught up because there's nowhere to go, right? There's the reason why they call them the big ones here at these super speedways because you're so packed together all the time that sometimes, especially when the leaders get together. Luckily, we haven't seen that yet, but if the leaders get together, I mean, it can take out the whole field. We saw, back in 2023 at Fall Talladega, at 2024, my apologies. Now, there was a 32 car wreck. And because there was nowhere to go, and the leader got hooked from the lead in Austin Cindric. So, unfortunately, a lot of the time when you get caught up in these wrecks, it's out of your doing, right? It's nothing you did wrong. It's just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, bad push from Brad Keselowski in the lead created a wreck that took out more than half the field right at the end of the race. So you could have been running up front all day and have that happen, and you would have nobody would have any idea that you were running great, had a great car, great strategy, whatever it was. So
The lights are gonna go off on the pace car once again, and we've seen these guys up front before, but now the 97 on the inside and the 08 of Cameron Albertson on the outside. Toyota Chevy front row, and you'll see a Chevy lockout on that fourth row. And rounding out your top six is going to be Ryan Taft and Joe Gibbons in that number 8. And Ryan Taft, being pretty quiet, just sitting up there in that P5 position, trying to keep the truck as clean as he can, right? He's been up there and led laps and stuff, and you see that 86 machine, not really any damage to that machine, so good for him. Halfway done with the race, and still has a clean truck to say. You think about, we've gone halfway, and we're still kind of making these same mistakes with these wrecks. You figured, these drivers would maybe say, like, hey, it's okay to just ride around for a little bit. It's okay to just hold on, right? I mean, we just got to the halfway point, and we already have, now 5 trucks that are laps down and 4 out of the race. And, hopefully we can maybe see a little bit of longer green flag runs. I mean, we're still going to have to make green flag pit stops if we go that long. But we'll see. But we'll see the space truck once again take a hard left on the pit road. And we'll see the 97 lead us to green once again, going into the Geico restart zone. And we're green. Oh, the 97 with a good jump, but no help from the 00 Griswold. Now getting some help, but unfortunately, when you get a good jump like that as a leader and you don't get help, it actually kind of backs up that lane that you got the jump on. And now you're going to start to see the outside get the momentum off the top. '97 getting a little push, and now you see the 08 of Albertson drop down to lead this bottom, leaving the 57 out on the top. Good pushes by the 97 to get them both clear. You see the 97 now, he jumps to the top.
Yeah, and we see this time and time again after every restart. The top 2 on the bottom usually break away a little bit from the rest of the pack, just slightly, maybe a row or 2. And then when the top gets formed up, they get a big run. As you're seeing here, the 97 was smart to go up and block that before they got to them. But you can see the top 3, 4, now possibly 5 trucks are going to get a big run on that outside lane off of 2 here.
You're going to see it time and time again. You're going to see that top lane get the better run off the corner and, have the straightaway speed. But once again, you just see these trucks on the bottom get linked up really well on the exit of these straightaways and get a really good run down into, turn 1s and turn 3. Coming to the line, give it to the 97 once again, but a run from the 57 will be coming as they go into turn 1. See that 08 of Joe Gibbons now pushing, being the pusher on that top. No, he's also had a quiet day inside really the top 5 throughout the whole race. We can actually look at your position stats, as low of 11s now as high as 12th. We saw him lead that outside lane with those green flag, with those, with the pit strategy. And now sitting up there in that P4 spot, just trying to get this outside going.
I think that this is the closest that we've seen this inside and outside lane be with as many cars as there have been. They're now 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 with the rest of the field slightly behind them. And they are really ramping up the intensity here, trying to get as much track position and rows gained as they can. And still almost halfway the race left to go. Gotta wonder what's going through these guys' heads right now as they are right on each other's bumpers.
Yeah, so oh, you see the 97 get a little sideways on exit there from a bump from the 08. I've preached it time and time again. You know, throughout the race, one of these times they're gonna have to just be content where they are and kind of ride around, whether it is a single file or whether it is double file like we see now. But if we continue to see like the aggressiveness and the pushing and the three wide, we're gonna continue to see wrecks. See 97 go up, block the top, and woo, you see them almost tandeming, for the top three on that top side. To the 15 now, he's gonna drop down and leave the bottom. I feel like this is what you're gonna see. You're gonna see the bottom get a good run, come up and block the top, and then you're gonna see maybe that second or third place driver from the top, when the momentum comes, come back down and lead the bottom. And it's just going to be swapping in and out. We've seen this time and time again throughout the race, and I feel like it's not going to change anytime soon.
Well, what do you say? I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. At these races, at this track specifically, that is the name of the game. Being able to control both lanes, whoever controls them the best is the one going to be the one who's going to finish up front and win this race. Big stack up on the bottom there. The 0057 and the 86 all got together at the same time. The 00 and a sandwich there. See those trucks in front and rear.
Ooh,
They're way down on the apron. It was a good save on the 86 to get it back up there and not take out any other trucks.
A great save by the 86 of Ryan Taft to get that thing under control once again, and it's going to kind of stack up the bottom just a little bit. That's going to allow the 08 to come down and try to lead this bottom once again. Oh, 97 with the block. Here comes Gibbons with the top. Here comes Michael Deitch to give that 8 car a push, but here comes the 97. He's clear. He's going to come up and lead this top again.
The 97 thought he was clear on the bottom still, but had to back out of it last second, leading the top again. Man, these guys are getting scory. They're really trying to push on each other's bumpers that are not totally aligned.
The inside for once start to get a run, and 57 all over the back end of the 08. You see the 00 all over the back end of the 57. This bottom lane is rolling right now. You're gonna even see maybe the 86 get clear.
John Connor in that top lane, they're trying to get hooked back up together. Say, hey, what do we need to do? 2 cars, 3 cars, now 4 trucks you see on the top, lining up, trying to get that run going so they can fight back for the lead at the front.
And that's the thing is, when you lose that much momentum, where you lose, 4 or 5 car lengths, it takes a while to get the momentum going and to get that run back. So you're gonna, you see them all compacted. You think, well, what are they doing wrong? Right now, they're not doing anything wrong. But ooh, you see, wow, Jonathan Ledger looks like almost got door checked by the 07. Looks like he backed out. Hopefully he can stay latched back onto this lead pack. He's gonna have to maybe get some help from that 34 to stay locked on to the main pack here.
You see the 00 and 86 jump up to the top to block that run that they were just trying to form. We were just talking about that. You need to form up that run and get back up to the lead as quickly as you can, or else you're going to see drivers from the bottom go up to block that top. As the 08 tries to do it, it's going to get split 3 wide. 00 into the wall in response to that. Wow, I don't know how they did wreck there.
Yeah, that was a really good heads-up driving. I think I'll say that's heads-up driving by Ryan Taft to see that the 00 was trying to give as much room to that 08 as possible, because that 08 was not clear. He tried to make the block, and the 00 was already there. You saw the 86 really back out of his. Oh, the 67 kind of gets shoved out of line. And here they go.
Oh, and he's going to get turned up into the wall hard. Thought he had it saved for a second, then went up the track into the car and is outside again. Turn 3 and 4 have been calamity corners so far in this one. Once again, another wreck.
Let's take a look and see what happened. I thought maybe it was a bump gone bad. and it might have been him checking up for the 93. Yeah, no contact between him and the '07. Just I think he when you a lot of the times when you lift here with these bumps, it actually kind of just naturally kind of yanks the car to the left. He hit the apron, and unfortunately, um, kind of lost the car. Came up, made some little bit of contact with the 97, and then away around she goes. Almost gets Michael Deitch, but gets out lucky, and here comes the 38 of Jim Mott. Nowhere to go for that driver, and hard hit for that 67 machine.
I think that the bumps are definitely part of it. We talked about earlier in the broadcast about how there's so many bumps on that bottom lane that upset the truck so much that it's really hard to hold a line there if you're right up against the yellow line instead of being like about a half lane off. But what I want to do, I want to go on board with the 67 there and show you how the visibility affects that through that wreck as well. If you're on the bottom lane and you're driving, look at how big the spoiler is in the rear end of that truck. You can't see where you're going. You are following that truck to see where. You see the truck, the 93 in front of him, ducked down just a little bit, just enough on the apron going into 3 that the 67 followed him and caught too much of that apron, got the truck upset, and then off it went. Then we had our wreck. So that's a really underappreciated cause of some of these incidents, especially in iRacing, when if you don't hit your marks perfectly on the bottom going into a super speedway corner, you can very easily upset the car and cause the big one. And that was what we saw there.
Yeah, it's super easy just to kind of follow the car in front, and a lot of times that's what you have to do. But see there that sometimes doing that um, causes calamity, right? That's why when you a lot of these other experienced super speedway drivers, they say just run your line, because if you're running behind someone, just running behind someone, right, and they have a bad line, that's exactly what happened. You saw the 93 hit the apron, and the 67 just kind of blindly followed behind them, and obviously that caused the wreck that we just saw right there. So, but once again, it's super hard to gauge, whether the car in front of you is running the right line or not because of as Jeff just mentioned, the visibility. So it's gonna happen, and it's gonna continue to happen just because of how big and how tall these spoilers are because of these super speedway packages, right? They need that big spoiler up in the air to create more downforce, which creates the speed and which creates that that drag and everything to make the super speedway package possible here with these trucks. So I mean, it's going to continue to happen here when we do that, when we come here at Daytona, even at Talladega and all that. But yeah, it's nothing of anybody's really fault. It's just kind of following the guy in front of you, and sometimes that just happens.
And again, we talked about it before. It goes back to trust, right? Do you trust the truck in front of you to hold his line? Do you trust him to hold his line for you to be able to push him or be aggressive with him or for him to be able to take a push in all these situations when you have that outside lane pitching you down, when you are right up against that yellow line and there's no room for error, even though those bumps are going to be throwing the truck around. So just so many more things to consider in a race at Legacy Daytona than even in other super speedway races with these guys. So just another cause for calamity as we've seen so far in this one.
Well, now 52 coming, the 53 going to be complete here at Daytona, and the laps are counting down. Right, we're on the count clock of almost 25 to go here at Daytona. So I mean, we've seen a lot of wrecking now, but now there really is an excuse to be aggressive and to try to stay up here with as the laps start to tick down. I mean, we think people are being aggressive now. It's just going to get more and more aggressive as we get closer to this checkered flag.
Yeah, and you would think based on that last run that they were already racing with 5 to go. So I'm really excited to see how this intensity ramps up as we get closer to the finish of this one. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be an exciting one.
I mentioned it before, but we still see the 57, the '08, and the '07, up here, top three. It seems like these guys have been the guys you want to be around. I mean, we saw the 97 of John Connor. He's fallen back a little bit. He's back here in the 11th position. maybe a little bit of an extended pit stop as we were looking at that replay between the from that last crash between Jay Salmon and the 38. We did have drivers all come down and you know, at least top off on fuel. Looks like a couple drivers did take tires. Looks like John Connor took 4. And it looks like a couple others did as well. But pit truck takes the hard left. 57080700. Gonna lead you back to green.
57 gets a great jump on the bottom, but that outside is going to get hooked up with that tandem once again. 3-car tandem now with the 87 coming to join them. I was just going to say before we went green, Christian, that I'm really excited to see how that 97 truck of John Connor comes through the field, leading a lot of this race up in the front, making moves. We're going to see a lot of intensity out of that driver going to the end of this one, approaching 25 to go here. Dead even at the front, dead even in the first 4 or 5 rows. This is the closest the entire pack has been to each other almost the whole race since the start.
You see the top 2 on each line tandeming. Oh, the 00's into the wall.
Got tight.
And that's going to suck up that whole top lane. And John Connor's up there in that top lane. You're going to see him drop down as soon as he can, and he does. He's like, I mean, if this is what's going to happen, I don't want to be a part of it. You see Michael Deitch now, he's going to jump up to the top and lead it. Now with Cameron Albertson going to push him out.
I thought that move to the top by Deitch was a little bit too early considering how far back the 08 was and those guys on the top, but now it looks like it worked out for him just fine. They're going to get that nice run off the top of the hill, and he's going to be clear of the bottom here coming to 3.
I feel like just that 97 has had some issues, you know, keeping it down there. I mean, he's the reason why that last caution came out, you know, with the 67 following him, and you saw him once again get down there on that apron, down in 1 and 2. I mean, it's super hard with how these trucks handle too. Oh man, what a block by the 08 to get in front of that 57, but it's super hard to just keep that truck down there, it seems like, for some of these drivers.
And Albertson saw an opportunity and had to take it. Just barely clear, but if you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver. It's going through his mind.
You see the 07 starting to fall back. That top just, once again, once that block was made, it completely destroyed the momentum of that top lane, and now they're gonna have to regroup and get firing again. We know Garth is a decent pusher. Have that 87 of Edwards back there as well to help get that run going. Still see the top 2 on that bottom clear, so they could get up anytime they want to make this block. I don't know if they will, and I don't think they can now. You might see the 08 on the exit of the corner maybe jump up, but that 07's coming back with another run.
And it's really hard to do that, in my opinion, because when you're on the bottom, and even if you are 2 cars or 3 cars clear of that top lane, the bottom is the shortest way around the track. And with how boom or bust the top lane has been with creating runs and then pulling back with runs, you don't want to give up your track position on the bottom and end up getting shuffled out.
To the top, generating a run. Oh, the 00 is, oh, so squirrely. What a save by him to keep that thing saved. But now he's going to be separated from that 07. They're going to have to get this run for him once again.
That's the toughest part of the track to have that happen as well. To meet somebody's bumper right in the middle of the tri-oval or exiting the tri-oval. It's not as much banking as the corners that your truck is set up for, but it unloads in such a weird way. And trying to get that wheel straight back to center while you're on somebody's bumper is a really strange scenario. You see the Devils are getting up in the wall once again. We saw that earlier on the first lap after the restart. Just getting too tight, too aggressive on the 07's bumper going into 3 for those bumps.
And I think a lot of people have started to give up on this top now. You see now only 3 cars electing to try to make this top work. You see John Connor, he dropped down, and now you're probably going to start to see these guys be shuffled to the back. They're probably saying, you know, well, we tried, and you guys didn't get back up there. So I'm just gonna try to take my losses, come down to the bottom, and maybe we can try again later.
Well, I think my response to that is now you have more free real estate on the top. So now you can see O the O 07 and the 8 doing a good job of tandeming, and now you got 00 and the 97 up there as well, and now they're back right up to where they were before. So just ebbs and flows throughout the race, but the top is definitely in the more volatile lane. The bottom is a lot more stable, albeit sometimes it can get beat by the top on speed.
That's the thing you always see at these super speedways is usually the bottom has the advantage in the corners because it's a shorter way around, but the top will always have that good run out faster down the back straightaway for the most part. And then it's just about, picking and choosing, right? When do you decide to jump up to the top to take advantage of that run? Or when do you decide to drop to the bottom to take advantage of the cornering speed that bottom has? And you're going to start to see that. Who's going to take the risk to maybe come up there and switch lanes as they need to take advantage of these ebbs and flows of the momentum?
These races are all about timing. You have to be in the right place at the right time to take the best advantage, get to the front and win this race. We're seeing that now. More opportunities to do so with the drivers being more aggressive.
You're starting to see the aggressiveness pick up once again. We thought we saw some drivers who were going to abandon the bottom, but now we see 4 trucks up top trying to make it work once again, and Michael Deitch not giving up on this top lane. You see the 8 machine doing his best job to try to get him back up there with the 00 and that 86 machine.
Deitch and Gibbons have been tandeming really well together on that top this entire run. We're going to see if they get just maybe one more truck, Jonathan Ledger in the back, shading to try and make a run on the top. They might be able to push well clear of the leaders at the bottom.
They've been tandeming very well, but that's also a bit. And the way I think of it, that could be a big issue, right? If you're tandeming well, that means you're probably not getting a lot of air to that engine, and sooner or later that 8's gonna have to try to cool his engine or try to do something, right? You see him trying to shade it the outside in these corners, but once again, as they got that run, I think he might have had to cool and back off, and now the advantage of the inside continues to go.
Exactly. Nothing comes free here in these races. Everything has a cost. You have to time when you hit that hot temperature on the radiator and shade and try to get a little bit of air to that thing, and then go back in for some more pushing.
And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is, it's so fragile of when the temperatures rise and when they don't. Because you think, well, if the 8's, overheating isn't the whole pack, but that's not the way it works, right? You really have to be probably, a foot or two behind and consistently behind there, or even making contact for the air to kind of be affected in the way of the temperatures, right? But when you're back there like the 28 or the 44 back there, your temps are completely fine. You're back there just riding around, just trying to do stuff. But when you're the 8 or the 08, or even sometimes if the 00 could get up there, oh, you see the 34, wow, some contact with the John Connor. But when you're up there right on that tailgate, that's when the issue starts to happen with these temps, and you have to time it, right? When do you make the move to try to push as hard as you can as well? Another big weave out of the top lane.
Yeah, they're starting to get really impatient now. That 00 giving a big push. We always say don't push the pusher on the outside, but that almost happened there and caused a big wreck. But the temperatures are super, super important, and once you get hooked up in that tandem, a lot of times, even if you do pull out for a couple seconds to try and cool the air, it's already there. And it'll just ramp up higher and higher and higher until it finally will give out, which is the worst case scenario at this track. Happened to me, happened to everybody that's raced super speedways before. Try to be a little bit too aggressive with those temperatures, and they'll come back and bite you when you least expect it.
Well, and that's what makes a good super speedway driver, or a great super speedway driver, is being able to know how hard you can push those temps before you have to back out. You see people like Austin Hill in the Xfinity series who are so much dominant. It's because he knows when to take advantage, and he knows when to push. He knows when to go out and lead lanes and stuff like that. And there's a reason why he's won as many races he has. Obviously, we're racing a truck here, and it's completely different than an Xfinity car, but As whoa, we see a lot of weaving back there. I mean, oh, it's the 07.
Michael Dice turned into the outside wall right as John Connor made that move from third or fourth on the outside to the middle, putting him 3 wide. He takes the third spot after that, and we have no caution on the speedway. We are still green after Michael Deitch got hooked into the outside wall on the backstretch.
And
Wow.
that's a heartbreak for that 07. He's been up there really in the top three all race, and no caution. That's probably game over for that 07 machine, unless he gets a caution quick. I mean, looks like a lot of heavy front end damage to that 07, and unfortunately, maybe a race ending move for that car. And you already show you on that ticker above, 28 seconds back already. So I mean, definitely off the pace now, comparatively to everybody else here.
And I could see with how aggressive that 8 truck was being with those pushes, Gibbons on the backstretch, that sooner or later they were going to get misaligned and somebody was going to go sideways. And it just so happened to be Michael Deitch and not taking out anyone else, not causing a caution, unfortunately for him. Maybe still has drivable damage to that truck, but way off the pace, and we'll be going a lap down if we don't get a caution soon.
We see Michael Deitch in pit road right now, so decided to come down and at least try to get the damage, hope for a caution, hope for something. Right now, the next car behind him is 5 laps down, and that is Mike Runkle. So he does have a couple laps that he can, sit down there, maybe get some damage fixed, and still be a lucky dog candidate as long as the caution doesn't come out while he's still down in pit road. But once again, we're getting closer and closer to this race being over. Now coming to 14 laps to go. I mean, this is really go time now. I feel like for a lot of people, this is around the time where you want to start making moves and starting to find people that you can work with. Try to make friends right now. Try to do stuff, right? I mean, it's 15 to go. There's not that much time left in this race. It's time to find your people.
And now we see, for I believe the first time this race, the 00 of Garth Griswold leading a lane, leading the outside here. He's got Gibbons pushing him in the 8. We know how aggressive of a pusher he's been, considering where Michael Deitch is now sitting in pit road, where he ended up. But they're going to see if that 3-car tandem can work on the top. They got to run here. He's going to take the lead at the line.
Give that lap to the 00. I think that's his first lap led. You can actually take a look. That's, his first lap led of the race, so perfect time to start leading laps right here with 13 to go. It's time to take advantage and get going. We had Albertson now. He's going to go up and lead the top. We know Garth has been a pretty good pusher in his own right, so you see the top with the big run. Here comes the bottom, though, to try to come back.
Now the 57 and 97 are hooked up once again. The Pied Pipers of the Super Speedway race so far here and in general in this league. Looks like they're taking advantage of that short way around. Even though they had less numbers there, just them two tandeming with each other versus the 4 trucks on the top, they were able to stay neck and neck with them for the lead. They're going to be just fine as the rest of the bottom catches up to them now.
Coming down to it.
A big checkup in the back. Going to truck out a line on the bottom, the 34. It's able to come back up and save it.
And we've seen the 34 have issues before in this race, and now 4th car in line. I mean, he's in really contention to potentially race for this win, especially with how much momentum he's getting now. We're starting to see even about 5. It's a 5v4 now, bottom versus top. And, people are starting to come and try to be more aggressive. 11 to go, coming to 10 to go. I mean, we're continuing to count these laps down as we almost saw a wreck right there.
A big move to the top. 00 and 8 got tight. Cars on the bottom couldn't hold it down there. And now look who is back in the lead. The 97 of John Connor after restarting in the back. now leading this race with 11 laps to go at Daytona. Double Zero is going to get turned by the 34, middle of 3 and 4. Calamity Corner hits once again. Back into that truck, up into the air. And we're going to get a restart with less than 10 to go. And all bets are off for the field.
We take a look at what happened to this 00. And we see once again, car on the bottom getting tight, and man, that's pretty bad, but I mean, that's the way it is. Wow, super lucky that 97 didn't get tagged. I mean, I was inches away from probably race ending. Because, I mean, if he gets tagged, he's going right into the outside wall, probably collecting the 8 and the 86. You see the 44 once again getting involved in that one. And man, huge hit to the outside wall there by the 00. I mean, honestly, not bad considering what could have happened there to that 00. Maybe it looks like some pretty bad rear end damage, which is going to affect the way that thing drives with their rear end grip. But definitely not what he wanted to see coming with 10 to go.
And we saw that pressure cooker building within that field. We saw, 5 rows deep, 2x2 for most of that run. And you knew at some point something was going to give. We saw the push that went bad to Michael Deitch that took him out of this race. We saw the 34 come up the track and hook the 00. And now we got more carnage. Like we knew that something was going to happen. It was just a matter of if, not when, not if. And now we may see ourselves in a situation where, as we always say, cautions breed cautions. Who is going to put themselves in the best situation on these restarts to, most importantly, stay out of the wrecks, but also to keep their track position? Because you're not going to have time now, come down pit road, fix your damage, and go out there and still have a chance to win this race. Go time now.
Well, I definitely agree. I mean, it's going to be a gamble if you want to come down, fix damage, give up that track position because it's well, we're going to probably go into green with what 7, maybe 6 to go, and the one thing I will say, if you want to do that, there's not really that many cars left. We have 10 cars that are on the lead lap, so if you do have people that you can work with and you can trust to get you back up there, then maybe I would say you can potentially gamble. But besides that, I don't really think it's worth it. I agree with Jeff in this, and we'll see what can happen. But we are going to do this. We are kind of cheating here, but we did not get the chance to do our race picks here. So with 10 to go, we don't have that many drivers to pick from, but I guess I'll go first with my race pick. I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a surprise pick. I'm going to go with this 93 of Richard Myers.
I like that pick, Christian, but honestly, from what I've seen so far with the making moves and pushing and being aggressive, I like the 8 of Joe Gibbons. We saw him get involved with that turning of Michael Deitch into the wall, but he has been being aggressive with the pushes every single time that every single time the outside lane was trying to build up a run to get to that front of the pack. He was there. He was either the second in line pusher, the third in line pushing the pusher. I can tell that he's there. I can tell that he's aggressive. I can tell that he's hungry to get up to the front. And maybe it'll take a little bit of luck, but everybody needs a little bit of luck to win at Daytona. So I like his chances here. I like his mindset here, and we'll see what he can do in the craziness that we're about to see with less than 10 to go here at Daytona.
There you have it. So we have, the 93 starting on in P4, and you see that 8 right there starting in P5. We'll be going to green this time to go to 7 to go. So I mean, it's time to go. It's time to once again. It's time to find the people that who you can trust to get you back up there. Or if you don't have people, it's time to just fend them off and do what you need to do to get up to the front. See all the cars that are still left here. I think that is 8 machines lined up here in the lead pack. See the 28 of Ledger still back there, trying to keep his championship hopes alive. Didn't have the best race last week, but here in a position to maybe steal one if we get a big wreck or something, he can get through it. Still has a really good opportunity to maybe come out here with a good finish. Once again, you'll see that 08 and the 97 going to be your front two. Toyota Chevy front row, Toyota lockout for your fast four, and then a Toyota Chevy in that row 3. But 97, 08, 93, 57 going into the restart zone. We're green once again with 7 to go at Daytona.
Man, that outside lane got caught sleeping at the worst time. You do not want to be late on a restart with less than 10 laps to go. The top 2, possibly top 3 with Joe Gibbons, all clear of that outside. And like I said, they take a little bit of a while to build up a run on that top sometimes. But no, you can see they're even bailing now. Now we have Jonathan Ledger, who made up a couple spots from that outside lane checking up. Now he's second in line on the top.
And look at that 86 of Ryan Taft. He's going to actually lead this field on the top. Let's see if he can get a run here. Jonathan Ledger really not been up towards the front. Let's see if he can push these guys up. Now it's going to be about who's willing to go up there and now. I mean, I think the top 4 now coming to the top 3 is clear once again of this top. But they're starting to form a run there on that top lane.
Yeah, and another thing to think about, the most important thing to think about really is when do you make the move? Now, you don't know how many green flag laps you have until the finish to try and make up spots, try and get to the front row or wherever it is you want to be. What is the best position to be in? What is the lane that I want to be in late in the race? Do I want to be in a position where I'm leading, or do I want to be in a position where I'm pushing somebody to try to get myself in a good spot, or to get pushed into the lead when I want to be? So a lot of things to consider right now.
Catching
a
lap car.
We still have the top 2 clear on the bottom. As we catch a lap car, the 44 truck stays high. No harm, no foul. Joe Gibbons gets doored by the 86 on that outside. Really aggressive side draft in the trial, but was a little bit too aggressive maybe. Jonathan Ledger's pushing him up. He's almost on the corner of those top 2.
Yeah, we talked about earlier in the show. When are you going to start to use up, maybe even get a little bit physical? And you see the top now not really giving a lot of space to that bottom lane. It's time to start pulling all the tools out of the shed, whether it's side drafting, whether it's, tandeming, whatever that is, right? And you're starting to see that 86 pull out the side draft tool to try to pull this outside up. You already see it trying to work as you see, I think that's the 99, the 00. Super upset, but he's going to save it back there, and we're going to keep going.
Yeah, and I think if they want to take advantage of that side draft, they have to side draft even more in these corners. I can still see that. I don't know if it's because of the tire wear. All these guys last pitted on lap 50 in this race. So, much older tires than the guys that pitted later than that. The 97 blocking, big block to the outside. And they're pushing up just a little bit in the corners, and that's letting the bottom take advantage just a little bit in the middle of the corner and getting that better run off.
97 blocks, that's going to give the bottom of the 57. Now side by side for the lead coming into turn 3 out of 4. 57 of John Connor. Now 97 going to drop down, not clear. He's going to get clear once again. Now what lane does he choose?
Ryan Taft almost just took out the entire field with a self-clear in the tri-oval. And now the 97 follows him down to block the bottom. Almost another hook off of his bumper. Now Jonathan Ledger with a run on the outside, leading the outside lane with the 08 and 87 pushing him.
See huge
they got
side
a big
draft
run, and now he's on his outside.
Side by side going to 3 and 4. Jonathan Ledger leading the top. He's going to try to get a run out of the top. The bottom still pretty formed up. Now Ledger's going to try to take it out of 3 and 4. Coming to 2 to go.
The
at the
97 got a little
line.
bit upset on the bottom. Jonathan Ledger's going to be leading this race with 2 to go.
Mr. Where did he come from? Ledger been riding in the back all race. And now it's time. I mean, he's up here. He found his way to the front. Used that bottom as, oh, right, Taft. Super upset, and that's going to give even more momentum to the top lane.
You're still hooked up with a 4-car tandem on that top lane. And the bottom, you could see, is just not as well connected as they have been the entire race.
Jonathan Ledger is going to get hooked
Jonathan
by this
Ledger
wave.
get hooked! No!
A Cinderella story potentially comes to an end there for Jonathan Ledger, and what a run that he had. But it looks like maybe a little bit of a panic move. We'll go back look. It looks like that top lane started to say, hey, we gotta go, we gotta do something. You see that 87 start to make a third lane, and we'll try to look at it from your blimp view. Ledger tried to block the middle, realized he was not clear, and really went up and tried to stay with the 08, and 08 kind of looks like just frankly just kind of ran him over. I mean, granted,
this stage in the race,
yeah, I mean, you can't lift
anymore.
Yeah, you can't really lift in that situation when you have, you know, the leader trying to block lanes. I mean, if you're the 08, you can't lift for that, right? And unfortunately, the 28s, you know, kind of gets hooked from that. And I mean, with 2 to go, you cannot give space. I mean, you race. Everybody's trying to race to get to that checkered flag first, and fortunately, Ledger hooks himself off the nose of the 08 trying to block, and that, you know, that's the trouble right there. We'll go back and look at it. It's just, what line do you block, right? You see the 87 trying to dump these 2 out, right? He's got 3 guys behind that are trying to help, and just Ledger not doing the best job trying to block those lanes, and round he goes. You see that rear end get up in the air and settle back down, but honestly, not too much damage for that 28. I wouldn't say it's over yet, but he definitely needs to do that same thing that he did to get up to the front, but now he's just got to do it a lot quicker because he doesn't have 6 laps. He has now a green-white checker, because we will be going into NASCAR overtime here in the Sportsman Truck Series.
Yeah, and if you're Albertson in that situation, what exactly are you supposed to do? Jonathan Ledger sees there's a run coming in the middle lane, realizes he has to block it, but is too late in doing so. And if you're the 08, you can't exactly let him in, because if you let him in, then you lost your best chance of getting up to the front. And you know that you're not going to win the race anyway at that point. So, hate it for Ledger. You know, saved his stuff in the back the entire race just to get an opportunity, and hate to see it happen like that. But at this stage of the game, you have to defend your track position if you want to win this race.
Yeah, I think the issue I see with hanging in the back is you don't really know. A lot of people don't really know that they can work with you, right? If you're just riding around all race and don't really show that you can make those moves and be dicey and be easy to work with, it's hard to work with you, right, towards the end. And you saw with Cameron, maybe if Jonathan and him had a deal, or maybe if they were working together all race, maybe he does cut him a break. But with 2 to go, and with him riding in the back all race long, it's hard to cut him a break when he just kind of makes the right moves at the right time, and really probably hasn't made a whole lot of friends just because he has been riding in the back all race.
Or maybe as well, Albertson would know that he'll stick with Ledger. And in that situation, they would be able to push each other up to the front, and he wouldn't have to block the middle because he knows he has an ally behind him. He knows they've been working together good the whole race. Things like that, where that's actually really important to remember, really important to consider at super speedways. That is completely unique, completely different. We don't have buddies like that at other tracks, really. Really just a super speedway thing.
Exactly.
Really important aspect of this type of racing.
And Jonathan Ledger, right there, back on track. We'll take a look at this rear end here from our fire chase camera. And I don't really see any damage to that 28 machine, so I wouldn't say it's over for him yet, but he definitely needs to make some moves to get back up there towards the front with a green white checker. And for people that don't understand the way this works here in iRacing, it's not like what you'd see in real life, right? Where we'll explain how it works. So they'll go green here, and if they get to the white, it's every man for themselves. If they wreck once they get that white flag, we're not going to get a caution. There's not going to be a stoppage, and whoever's out in front at that point in time wins. No, it's not like that. If we wreck before we get to the white, we'll continue to go green until we run out of green white checkers. I'm not sure how many we have here, but when it comes down to
green white checker attempts,
so we do have 3 attempts. So and if we get down to that 3rd attempt and they wreck before we get to the white, whoever is leading the race at that time will be declared the winner. But as soon as we get to that white flag lap, it's all man for themselves. All hell might break loose, right? It's whoever gets to the line first once we get to that white flag. But first we have to get to that white flag. And look at that. We still have that 86 and P2 going to start on the outside line. I mean, that would be a really big upset win here at Daytona. They get Ryan Taft a win here at Daytona. But you will see a Chevy Toyota front row and a Chevy lockout. See that 87 making his way back up through the field. And Lucas Edwards in that P3 position. Going back green. We're NASCAR overtime racing.
97 got squirrely trying to time the jump with the 87 pushing him. Now he might be in trouble. The 86 and the 08 are hooked up. They got help coming. They're going to be clear of this 97 with 2 laps to go. Maybe an upset no more. We'll see.
The 08 trying to work with this 86. Really cut him a break right there. But now you see the 97 going to go up and work with the 00 of Garth Griswold. Where did he come from?
Garth Griswold was 3rd in line on the outside trying to push the 86 up to the lead, and all of a sudden he finds himself leading this race clear of the bottom with the 97 pushing him. Coming to the white flag. Now what does he decide to do? Does he decide to stay top or block the bottom?
He's going to block the bottom. And the 86 is going to push him out. Now you're going to give the guy of the race, the leading the top here, white flag in the air, side by side going into turn 1.
What do you do if you're leading the bottom lane here? Do you try and get clear and jump up to the top to block John Connor in that 97? You know how good he is at drafting. Well, you're not even going to get the chance. The 87 is going to push him, and they'll be clear off of 2.
The 00 is going to get
hooked. 00 gets 3rd. That's a big wreck. Almost the entire field involved.
Everybody wrecking back here, but coming back. John Connor gets through that wreck. Really unscathed. One of the only drivers unscathed coming out of turn 3 and 4. John Connor, super speedway man, is going to win at Daytona.
Man, I don't know if he's ever got an easier super speedway win in his life. The seas parted for him. He was in the perfect spot at the perfect time.
Cameron Albertson come home P2, and Jeff's pick, a couple spots short, but he'll bring home your last spot in this podium. And now we definitely have to take a look back at what happened here. Looking at your replay, I mean, a big wreck on the last lap here. We'll take a look at it probably from your drone cam or your blimp cam. Probably going to give you the best shot. It just looks like the 86 just trying to be aggressive. Maybe he tried to go through wide, and unfortunately just hooks the 00, and that's the whole field. You see the 86 up on 2 wheels and nowhere to go for really any of these guys. You see Jonathan Ledger up in here and just calamity all throughout here. You see trucks on 2 wheels and everything. But man, what a wreck on the final lap.
Yeah, we knew it was coming. We knew at a certain point somebody was going to be aggressive. Somebody was going to give a bad push. Somebody was going to be misaligned. Somebody was going to try to take a 3. And I think we were expecting something to happen before we got to the line. We'd be surprised if we didn't. But I was not expecting it to be the entire field besides our winner, the 97 truck of John Connor.
See John Connor, he's sitting there, going to do a little burnout. See if he decides to do any more. Here we go. He's going to burn it down here on the start-finish line. Man, what a win for this driver. Was up there really all race. And I mean, one of the more deserving wins we've seen here. I mean, really dominated this race. We can look right here. Laps led 30 out of 85. So almost a little over a third of the laps led by this number 97 machine.
Impressive to do at any track, but especially a super speedway with how quickly the runs change and the pushes change. That's really just the mark of a top tier driver right there in that 97 truck. To be able to control the race for that long, even when he wasn't leading, he was up there in contention. One time he was further back in the field, coming back from restarting last all the way to leading the race. Again, a number of laps later.
You see the 87, a friend of John, bring it down. That's Lucas Edwards with that, Star Wars themed machine. Obviously, it's May 4th for everybody who knows what that is. And this is something that I think is super unique in the esports or in the sim racing world, right? You see a lot of this happen when your friend wins here, you go down and burn it down with them. Obviously, you don't really see that a lot in real life motorsports because of safety issues and stuff. But it's always cool to see you have your friends or your teammates come down and burn it down with you here after you win a race. You still see them burn it down. As you see him finally park that car, also let him sit right there in the grass there. But right before we talk to your top three, let's go ahead and we didn't really get a commercial break in, so we'll let our partners over at iRacing tell you about their product. Be right back and talk to your top three and go through your unofficial results here from Daytona.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back live from Daytona International Speedway as we just saw an amazing finish and a crash-filled final lap here at Daytona for the Sportsman Truck Series. Taking a look at your top five here, we we'll talk to your top three of Connor, Albertson, Gibbons, Griswold, and Stafford. Is I think we have our P3 driver waiting on us, and Joe Gibbons. Hey Joe, it's Christian and Jeff up here in the HVTV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, definitely very eventful race for really everybody involved here in the Sportsman Truck Series. But walk us through, that really the whole race as a whole, and walk us through, the mindset going into that green white checkered finish.
Oof. It was a doozy. The Daytona track, real bumpy into the corners, so you got to be real precise when you're pushing and everything. So, yeah, that last restart, I'll be honest, I kind of just settled in. I was kind of happy where I was at, and I didn't want to really press the issue because I knew what would happen. And all hell broke loose in front of me, and tried my best to avoid it, and I kept it pinned in the grass, and I got lucky, to be honest. But it was a lot of fun racing with everybody. Hate that I got into the 07 there, I think with like 17 to go. I gave him a really bad bump and got him loose, so I'm sorry to him and his team. Didn't mean to get into him like that, but overall a fun race though. Had a lot of fun.
Well, it was definitely, it seemed like the handling of the trucks really did go away. Like you think about like a regular super speedway, if you go to like the new Daytona, and that's really not an issue. You can really push as hard as you want, and really the only thing you have to worry about is temps. But it seemed like here, especially in that bottom line, as we got some laps under our belt, seemed like the handling really did go away. We saw some guys, towards the back end of the top 10, get upset and start to fade away. Was that something you kind of felt throughout the race as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with that inside line when the tires would start to go away. You'd really have to, yeah, like you were saying, super speedway. You're just paying attention to the run in front of you and behind you, trying to judge where you need to go, and you're just you're not 100% throttle unless you're up front in the pack. Here, you have to be more precise with everything going on because you start getting loose after about 20, 30 laps. Left side's really their left rear rather got pretty hot a couple times there. I could kind of feel it start to fishtail on me. So definitely more of a handling track with this 08 Daytona track. But yeah, you can kind of feel that run start to after a little bit, that truck starts sliding. So you'd want to, the outside line was probably, I would say, the preferred line. Bumps weren't as bad up top, but that inside line, you can see it in front of me. Like there was people just starting to get loose and everything. So
Yeah, we could definitely see it up in the booth that it looked like the handling was starting to go away, and yeah, I mean, it definitely looked like a handful to drive. But Jeff, you got anything for him?
Yeah, Joe, late in the race, you were actually my pick to win, and you still got third, which is a great result after everything that happened on the last lap. I noticed throughout the race that you seemed to be pushing better than most of the other drivers and getting the outside to have a really good run off the corners when it had pulled back a little bit the lap before you guys got connected. So where does that come from for you? Is that just a natural instinct on how you race at super speedways, or were you making a conscious effort at this track to make sure, hey, the corners are really bumpy and we lose some time there, let's make sure to be as aggressive as we can with the pushes to try and get up to the front?
yeah, so I might be a little bit of I might be on an island on my own here, but I really, really enjoy this old Daytona track because it's
I'm with you.
You got to work for it. Like it's not just pin the throttle, get after it, and just, I mean, it's fun no matter what. Daytona, Talladega, they're fun, but here you have to really work for it. It's hard to explain. It's just really a feel. Because I was running inside, I don't remember who I was behind, and I can feel the inside starting to get kind of jammed up. And I saw an opening on the outside, and I just I felt comfortable, and I got up there and tried to push that line best I could. So it's really it's hard to explain. For me, it's feel. Watching the energy around you, like trying to judge, okay, this line looks like it's getting ready to go. There's not enough trucks here. I might stay here. It's kind of hard to explain, but I guess the best way I can describe it is just, I have a good feel for for whatever I run here at this track. It's again, it's probably one of my favorites. So
We could definitely tell that, it seemed like you ran up front basically all race, and we're really comfortable with the truck compared to a lot of people. So I mean, it's not surprising to see you up here talking to us in the podium position. But before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank, shout out, any sponsors, friends, family, maybe watching at home?
yeah, first again, I want to say sorry to '07. Didn't mean to get him loose there. I think it was 17 to go, so I'm sorry about that for sure. Not how I like to race, but appreciate everyone watching. Got family and friends watching, and thank you guys for broadcasting. And yeah, no, it was fun on the track. I hope that translate over in the broadcast, but it was a lot of fun. So appreciate everyone coming out and watching.
Yeah, it sure was a fun race to watch, and congratulations on your third place finish, and good luck for the rest of the season.
All right, guys, I appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll come up here hopefully a little more often.
We'll see. You have a good rest of the night.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, thank you.
That was Joe Gibbons. Seems like pretty excited for that P3 finish. So congratulations to him. And let's go ahead and drag in your P2 finisher, the 08 machine. That is of Cameron Albertson. Hey, Cameron, it's Christian and Jeff up here in the HVTV booth. You got a copy?
Loud and clear.
Well, we kind of put you in kind of a different category. You, the 07 and really the 97, we kind of put you guys up in that, the three drivers who were kind of consistently up towards the front all race. But really just walk us through your race, walk us through what was going through your mind through that green, white checkered finish, and really how you got through that wreck.
It was really fun. I had a blast battling the 97, the 57, and the 07 that entire race. A lot of anxiety with the bumpy Daytona. I've never met anybody that liked bumpy Daytona. The cars or the trucks just felt really wobbly, and I know I got hooked by the apron a couple times. I saw it happen to other people. I saw people's races end because of it. It was very eventful. That last green, white checkered was I'm part of me can't believe I didn't get hooked, but the 00 hit me so square on the door that I don't think anything would have really happened. But I didn't expect to finish that high, but I'm very happy I did.
Yeah, it seemed like you were kind of towards the front all race, and yeah, like you said, we went back and looked at it. Got really lucky that the 00 kind of sucker punched you in the door instead of like a couple more feet and you're getting hooked with that wreck. But it's still a good race for you, and going into the points, I mean, you can't complain about a P2 here at Daytona.
Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of strategy involved. I didn't change my tires the entire time. I don't know how I pulled that off, but I did. For points, I finished 4th last week and 2nd here, so obviously I'll be in a pretty good standing after this, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, this is probably one of my best broadcasted races on record. I leading all those laps and finishing up on the podium.
That's great to hear, Cameron. And we were talking the whole broadcast about how important handling is at this track, especially with all the bumps and how close the racing is, 2 and 3 wide. So did you feel more comfortable on the bottom lane or on the top lane? And which lane did you find more success in as the race went on in terms of getting runs and getting to the front?
The bottom felt more consistent and actually staying up there, but if you fell behind and like you got someone pulled down in front of you, the top line was definitely best for just trying to get back up to the front because of the random but very powerful runs that it had. It definitely felt more stable on the top though, however, because it didn't have, you don't have the apron to worry about in the tri-oval, because that really grabs you out of nowhere and just sucks you down. But I didn't feel stable anywhere really. I'm glad the car stayed straight the entire time.
And that was exactly what we were seeing up here in the booth. So I
Yeah,
definitely agree with all that.
yeah, it seems like a unanimous vote that I don't think anybody was pretty stable throughout the whole race. It seemed like everybody was kind of squirrely and really just on, a nice edge of, not wrecking their truck. But before we let you go, is there really anybody you want to thank for this P2 finish? You know, any friends or family watching at home, any sponsors or shout outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, my whole family's watching at home, and I know some of my friends are tonight. So I just want to shout y'all out and thank y'all for supporting me.
Well, like you said, P4 last week, P2 today. You know, it looks like you're on a little bit of a run here, so we'll let you go to, you know, celebrate with friends and family, do what you need to do to prepare, and maybe we'll see you next week here up here in the broadcast booth again.
Hopefully so.
All right. You have a great rest of the night.
You too.
That was your P2 finisher, Cameron Albertson. You know, coming home P2, you can't complain about that. So, I guess we'll talk to the man of the hour here, our race winner, and John Connors in this number 97, really dominant performance from him all race. Let's go and talk to him. Hey John, it's Christian and Jeff up in the HVTV booth. You got a copy? Hey John, it's Christian and Jeff up in the HVTV booth. You got a copy?
We may have lost him in his celebration.
Yeah, might
Still
have
down in victory lane.
still on victory lane doing burnouts. Yeah, I mean, could be getting a glass of water, or catching his breath. I mean, with that style of finish, I mean, it's definitely makes your heart beat fast. So, we will wait a few more minutes while I guess we can go through your unofficial race results while we wait on John to come back from hopefully his festivities. Oh, so we think we got him.
We got him.
Maybe.
Sorry, my computer's struggling.
Hey, you're kind of blinking in and out for us on the VC.
I just needed this finish. Yeah, my computer's struggling.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I hear you. It sounds like you're kind of blipping out every other word, but we're kind of picking up what you're throwing down.
I'm gonna try to restart my Discord real quick if you can hear me.
Yeah. Oh, we'll go through and do our race results, and then we will drag you back up if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll be right back. Thank you.
'Cause we will try to get our overlays back up and going. 1 second here. As you get to see this 97 come to the line here. This was the replay of him coming to the stripe here, claiming victory here at Daytona. But here we have right here our unofficial race results presented here by HVTV. Obviously, we'll be talking to him in a second. John Connor victorious here at Daytona. Forget about the placements. It says out for everybody, but a little bit of a glitch in the system. Cameron Albertson, P2. Joe Gibbons, we talked to him as well. Rounding out your podium with Garth Griswold, rounding out your Fast Four. Joseph Stafford, P5. Richard Myers, P6. Jonathan Ledger comes home with a P7, even after getting wrecked with causing that green-white checkered. Ryan Taft, P8. Lucas Edwards, P9. And Austin Runkle going to round out your top 10. Looks like Mike Runkle's going to finish P11. Michael Deitch, P12.07. Tough break for him. He really had a fast truck and probably should have been up there competing for a win. Jim Mott, P13. Jay Salmon, P14. Corey Mott, your league owner. Tough night for him, finishing P15. P16, Bob Baker. And Alan Phillips and Josh Stolz round out the rest of your field here. But still an exciting finish nonetheless, Jeff. And we will try to see if we can get John once again here. All right, John, it's Christian and Jeff once again in the booth. You got a copy this time?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Alrighty, well, definitely an exciting finish, definitely an interesting race, but for you, it seemed like you were up there, I would say in the top 3, top 5, besides when you came down late in the race to take some tires. seemed like you were up there towards the front basically the whole race. So just, walk us through your race. Walk us through what was going through your mind during that green white checkered, because you really did have to do some, really sketchy stuff to get yourself back up to the front.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. The truck felt really good. Like in practice, I was testing what moves I could make before it would be too much to spin myself out. So I kind of used that and went into the race and just kind of tried to not overstep the boundary that I knew the truck could handle. And yeah, like when I had to pit the final time, uh, I forgot when, but like 3 or 4 cars got like unsafe pit entry penalties, and none of us know how. I guess we did something wrong, and so we all had to go to the back and really, put us in a hole. But somehow, with a lot of effort, managed to work my way back up before the final few crashes, and made some risky moves going 3 wide, which was very ill-advised. And then, yeah, like going into overtime in the position where I wasn't quite sure if I had a shot. I was pretty sure like I could get up there, and then the hole to the top opened up with Lucas, and I was working with him towards the end of the race really well, so we followed each other up there and then pushed Garth out, and when he dropped down, we just helped each other until the wreck happened down the back.
With how much you were controlling this race earlier in the race, and then what position you ended up being in late racing for the win, do you prefer to come from a couple spots back to try and take the win away, or do you prefer to be leading at super speedways? I know there's always this debate. How do you feel about that?
When you're leading, or at least when I'm leading, I feel like a sitting duck. If I let the lane I'm in clear, they could jump out of line immediately and pass me. But if I drag the brake and leave the outside line there, I could kill the entirety of the run that the lane I'm in has, and then go backwards. So I don't know. I feel like I'd rather be second or third, or not. I don't know. First doesn't seem great with like 5 to go. I think on the last lap you always want to be first, even though in iRacing it's not like a caution comes out, it ends the race. I just feel like if you're in first, you can make the reactionary moves to block what you see fit. And yeah, but I think before 1 to go, it's not. I don't like to be the leader.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those topics that I feel like it's just preference, right? A lot of people like to control the lanes and try to, block their way to a win, but no, I'm on your side where I'd rather, put myself in the position to pass for the win and be on the offense versus being on the defense. So I feel like a lot of people also agree with that. But before we let you go, is there anybody you want to shout out? Any friend, family, or friends, or even sponsors you want to shout out to for this victory here at Daytona?
Yeah, I mean, just pretty much everyone I raced with up front, the 8, 08, 07, 57. Uh, really everyone, to be honest. I could keep going with numbers, but like it was just so much fun. Like the top 10, 15 for most of the race was very clean, pushing really well, and just made for an exciting, mostly clean race until towards the end.
Well, definitely, I would say pretty dominating is a good way to put it. Pretty dominating win for you. I mean, you led 38 of the 90 laps, and I mean, that's pretty hard to do at a normal track versus a super speedway. But we'll let you go down and celebrate, get prepared for next week for whatever track you have. And hopefully we can talk to you next week, maybe in Victor Lane once again.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. You have a good rest of the night.
You as well. Thank you.
That was John Connor, the number 97. And I guess, Jeff, that's a wrap on tonight's broadcast. We talked to your winner, and very well spoken young man. And you have to think, we kind of for the first really half of the race, we ran kind of 10 laps and then got a caution, and then we towards the end there we kind of had a decent lead green flag run, and then once again Calamity started to strike towards the end there.
Yeah, and I think that Daytona, as always, the races don't disappoint. Whether that's because of strategy, whether that's because of crazy moves, whether that's because of dramatic last lap finishes. And I think we saw a little bit of everything with this race. I think, especially with the added challenge of the bumps in the corners and the different track conditions that these drivers are used to. We saw a lot of swapping around, lanes getting runs, falling back from other lanes, guys pushing aggressively. Those turning into incidents and bigger wrecks. But just overall, really entertaining racing, and I think that this track provides a lot of unique opportunities for that compared to what can be considered by some as just the cookie cutter super speedway racing that you see. If guys are just lined up, or if they're single file choo choo train, whatever you want to call it, it's not as entertaining as when they're having to take handling into consideration with the bumps and knowing when to push and where not to push with drivers, because of you're racing the track too, in addition to the other drivers on the track. So overall, really entertaining race. What a way to come back to the booth, man. This was awesome. I missed this a lot. Awesome to do it with you again. Awesome to be back with HVTV. And, life has kind of gotten in the way of me doing opportunities like this, but I'm really looking forward to being a little bit more of a staple here going forward.
Well, it's definitely a pleasure having you in the booth once again, Jeff, and we appreciate you taking your time out of the day. And for me, as the producer and commentator, I always love coming here, and I've been doing these crown jewel races for a long time. Right? I used to race here in this league, so it feels like home to me. And I know a lot of these guys, and I know I can really come up to anybody I want and talk to them about really whatever I need to get info about the league. So once again, a huge shout out to the admins and Corey and Garth, who have really worked with side by side with me to make sure that we put on the best presentation and broadcast for you guys that we can. And definitely will. And from moving on now, the prior obligations I had before this broadcast is just concluded. So we will have a little bit of a pre-show where we can kind of prepare a little bit more. So once again, from everybody up here in the HVTV studio, Jeff and myself, we hope everybody has a great rest of their Sunday night. Once again, you're watching the Sportsman Truck Series, brought to you by TH Designs. Thank you so much to TH Designs for coming on and sponsoring the league here at Daytona. But once again, hope everybody has a great Sunday night, and we'll be back here next week, right here on Sunday, for some more Sportsman Legacy Truck Series. Hope everybody has a great night, and we'll see you guys soon. Good night, everybody.